What is up? What's going on, everybody? Kevin Calhoun here. Welcome to the Calhoun Show. If you're new to the show, I'm Kevin, and now you know everything. So we have a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff this week, and I have two topics that we're going to talk a lot about that I am really excited to talk about because they are massive stories right now, and it's opinion-based, and it's going to make a lot of people mad, and it's going to make a lot of people be indifferent, and people will agree with me. So I'm excited. We're going to talk about these college bowl games and the fact that now we have Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette. They're going to sit. They're not going to play because there's no upside for them to play. And we're going to talk about how I feel about it, and I have some ideas on how some other people feel about it. Plus, obviously, we are playoff bound in the NFL. We're very close as we head into Week 16 here. We have a bunch of different playoff scenarios that we can go over. We have a lot of just interesting seeding and interesting ideas as to where teams are going to play in 3 weeks' time when the wild card weekend rolls around. And lastly, we have some coaching things happening, and they have to do with the end of game management. We saw a couple examples of that with Tennessee, with Pittsburgh, with Philadelphia. We saw weird timeouts and weird challenges and weird non-challenges this week. We saw Odell Beckham literally drop a pass and the ball bounced between his legs, like visibly bounced, and they called it a catch, and the Lions never didn't challenge. So there's a lot of stuff to do. Plus, this is going to tie into the McCaffrey and Fournette conversation, which is players taking games off. Not necessarily bowl games and not necessarily college football. I'm talking more about the NBA and other sports. So we have a lot of things to do. Plus, we have your emails and tweets and questions on the Facebook page and the video, which Stephanie did yesterday, which was awesome and funny. So we have all sorts of things, and we're ready to go. Let's get it going. This is the Calhoun Show. Alrighty then, you can follow the show on Twitter at Calhoun Show, email the show, calhounshow@gmail.com, like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube, and you can listen to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And don't forget to leave the iTunes rates and reviews over there. And if you'd like to leave a voicemail for the show, 860-740-2119 is the number to do that. Now, let's bring the music down a little bit. A quick reminder, the beautifully named Calhoun Show Cold Dump is our winter contest that we're doing right now. So if you're unaware of it, basically the best thing we get on social media, because we're trying to up our social media output and try to get more interaction with you guys. So trying to incentivize that, we have a really cool prize that's going to be announced next week on the show when we announce the winner of the contest. And the contest is really easy. It is send us a tweet, a Facebook post, an email, take a video of yourself, leave us a voicemail on our voicemail line. And between now and Christmas, the best interaction that we get on social media, and be creative because we've got a couple really, really cool ones. So if you're creative with it, you'll win, and we'll get in touch with you and tell you what the prize is, and then we'll announce it on the show next week. So it's cool. I'm excited about it. You know, we can't give away $10,000 here. I wish I had $10,000. But it's cool, and I'm happy about it. So definitely get involved with the social media with the show this week and moving forward. That would be lovely. Thanks, guys. So this whole thing. Now, I want to do the playoffs because the playoffs are what people care about the most. But man, this McCaffrey and Fournette story is interesting. And there's a lot of different areas to go with this. So here's where I start. When I look at what these guys have to gain from playing in a bowl game, I mean, obviously the answer is not a ton. Right? We all know that. they're not technically playing for anything that helps their career. Now you have to remember that with college football, the way the season unfolds is for the higher end talent, there are two goals. And you'd like those two goals to come in a certain order. Goal number one is to win a national championship. And then goal number two is to prepare yourself for the next level, right? So as the college football season goes on and you start with 120 whatever teams and you narrow it down, and as time goes on, you get your second loss, you get your third loss, and then you know we're not a national title team. So all of a sudden, the focus for that top-end talent and all those players that you have naturally now becomes preparing themselves for the NFL, because that's what's next for them and that's where the money is for them. And I don't think there's anybody left on the planet that doesn't think these kids are being at least a little taken advantage of in college. I mean, you can throw out the free education if you want. Fine. Let's compare the value of the 80 players free education for the amount of money that Alabama's bringing in every year. And we can have that conversation if we must. But these kids aren't making a dime in college unless they're doing something they shouldn't be. So if you're Christian McCaffrey, now McCaffrey's an interesting one, right? Because his dad played in the NFL. You assume his family has a decent amount of money, and that shouldn't factor in, but it does. But with McCaffrey and Fournette, and I don't know Leonard Fournette's family background. I don't know if he comes from money. I don't know if he comes from no money. It doesn't really matter to me. These kids are looking at the NFL being the NFL is 60 minutes away for them. It's 60 minutes of football away. And again, from their perspective, from where they're sitting, it is 60 minutes of meaningless football. These bowl games don't matter. There's way too many of them. We have this many bowl games because the networks want it that way. It gives them more programming and more advertising dollars, and the ratings are better for a bowl game than they are for the Pro Bowling League or whatever the hell they show on there when football's on. So I get why there's this many bowl games. I also understand the problem that people have with these kids not playing. I don't agree with the people that have those issues, but I can understand them. You know, you were given a full ride scholarship to come to this school, and part of that agreement is that you play football. Now you're not playing football. I understand that. And it's a responsibility that they have that they should probably uphold. However, because of the system and because of what they haven't earned yet in college football, you're talking about what could be the difference of your family and your kids and your grandkids being set up for the rest of time, or living like everybody else because you played in the Miami Beach Bowl at 2:30 on a Monday and you tore your Achilles and your ACL and your PCL and your MCL and you blew out your ankle, like whatever. You have a Marcus Lattimore injury. Jalen Smith, was that the kid from Notre Dame? You have one of those injuries, and all of a sudden, those big dollars go away. These kids are not insured. If Christian McCaffrey plays in the Sun Bowl or whatever the shit they're in, and he blows out his knee, an NFL team's not going to draft him where they were going to draft him before. That's not how it works. Leonard Fournette, I imagine, is a first-round pick, probably a top 15 pick, I'm guessing. If Leonard Fournette plays in his bowl game and breaks his collarbone or whatever the injury could be, tears his Achilles tendon, whatever, he's not going to get drafted in the top 15 picks just because he's that good, because he's coming off of an injury and he's dealing and he's rehabbing and he's surgery and it's going to be 9 months or 10 months, or maybe you don't get him for the first year. And let's not forget, if you get drafted in the first 15 picks, you're getting paid a hell of a lot more than you are if you get drafted in the 4th round because someone's taking a flyer on you because maybe you'll come back from your injury healthy. So I get it. This is a business decision. They're in a business. College football is not a game, it's a business. And the sooner everybody realizes that, I mean, I think everybody knows it, but if you really sit back and think about it that way, that's what we're doing here. So when a kid doesn't want to play in a meaningless bowl game because the next step in his career is getting drafted to the NFL. I get it. Now, if you're a team executive in the NFL and you say, wow, that's the kind of guy you are, you're not going to play in a bowl game, you're going to abandon your teammates, we don't want you. Okay, that is something that is going to come. And that's the thing that McCaffrey and Fournette and whoever else does this in the future is going to go through. It's the fact that you're opening two doors. Number one, if you play, you can get hurt. If you don't play, you will get scrutinized. There's not a win. You can't win either way. I think they're making the right move. And like I mentioned earlier, to me, this ties into something that's happened at the pro level, and especially in the NBA, which is what I'll focus on for this particular topic. And especially because the NFL has so few games, it's not really an option. Baseball, we see it too, which is players resting. And it's been a thing with LeBron, obviously the Memphis game the other night. It's been a thing with a lot of players around the NBA. So people have an issue. And again, I can understand the issue. And at the pro level, it is way, way, way harder to justify. Because if I'm getting paid $17 million a year to play 82 games of basketball, and yeah, all right, I missed 4 due to injury, they're going to pay me those games, of course. If I miss 3 because they were rest days that I need to recuperate, I'm not going to give the game checks back to the owner. I'm going to keep those. And that's what happens. So the owner's now paying for 82 games, but he's only getting 79 of the possible ones you could have played. Now, the owners have more money than God. Sure, whatever, fine. Guess what? They're running a business. You are not fulfilling your contract. Now, that's fine. The owners, I'm sure, for the most part, don't care. Because, not care is a strong term, but I'm sure it's something that they've accepted. And different ownership groups probably see it different ways. I'm sure there's some super forward-thinking, progressive ownership groups, and if it hasn't happened yet, it will, that's going to say the best way to do it is to play 5 games and then sit 1, or play 10 games and then sit 2, or whatever it's going to happen. There's going to be a team someday that feels that they have maximized their physical abilities to the point where this is the best schedule to keep our guys at 100%. So it's going to happen. But what's happening now is guys like LeBron, and this is where this gets difficult, and this is why I wanted to dive into this, because the dichotomy between players is the interesting part. Because if you look at LeBron James, who's been in the league 13 years, I think, at this point, he has played a lot of basketball. He's been to the finals 6 years in a row. Add up those games, that adds up to a lot. If LeBron James tells me that for him to be ready to go in his 30s now, in the NBA Finals, where I imagine he will carry me to, if he tells me the best way for me to be ready is to play 68 to 72 games, guess what? LeBron James is playing 68 to 72 games. Here's the other side. The New York Knicks were in Golden State the other night. Carmelo Anthony took a rest day. He needed a rest. He had to relax. And they talked about him coming back to New York and maybe taking a couple games off on the homestand. He went out and played really, really well. He was the only one that played well, but he played really, really well against Denver right after skipping out on that Golden State game. And what happens after the game? He's the only one that played well. He called out his teammates for not showing up. He sat out healthy the night before. You have to look at each thing individually. It's like the Ezekiel Elliott, Odell Beckham thing the last 2 days, where Elliott jumps in the Salvation Army kettle, doesn't get fined. Beckham tweets, I would have gotten fined. Yeah, you would have, because you've done way more stupid shit than Ezekiel Elliott has. He's earned the benefit of the doubt, and the NFL, for once, looked at something on an individual basis and said, yeah, that's not a big deal. Let's relax. And I'm sure Beckham's not that bent out of shape about it, but it was something that stood out. So LeBron's played probably the equivalent of at least, I would imagine, one full season of playoff basketball. Carmelo Anthony hasn't done that. Get on the floor. Get on the floor. But that's where it ties back into the college football talk. You better believe that there is a lot of first-round talent on that Ohio State sideline, on that Alabama sideline. I imagine there's some on the Clemson sideline, and I don't know a lot about Washington, but I'm sure they have pro talent as well. You're not going to see any of those kids sit out. Why? Because they're playing for a national title. That's the goal. Now, there isn't maybe that aside from aside from Deshaun Watson, I don't think there's necessarily a top-end pro talent, at least name recognition-wise, in the Final Four here. So maybe it would be a different story, but I'll tell you what, if LSU or Stanford was playing in the Final Four, Fournette and McCaffrey would be playing. And I don't have a problem with that. Just like I don't have a problem with them sitting. You have to look at things individually, is the way I look at this. And is it bothersome? Sure. Are the ratings for those bowl games going to suffer? Yeah. Are less people going to show up for the game? Maybe. But, that's not for Christian McCaffrey. It's not for Leonard Fournette. It's not for, a scout-rated top 5 pick offensive tackle next year that's going to say, well, do I really need to go block in the Dove Bar Irish Spring Soap Bowl? Because, that's right, 2 different soaps I've decided are sponsoring one bowl game. Do I really need to go block for 60 minutes in that game and risk getting my ankle rolled up on when it's pretty clear that I'm going to be the number 4 pick in the draft and end up in Jacksonville or whatever it is? Maybe you might go play, but I don't know. This has been a fascinating one. Usually I don't like and I hate the term narrative, right? So we have all these narratives every day of this is what's happening and how do people react to it and what's the feeling that people get and how does that make you look into the future of what's going to happen? I don't love all that stuff, but this one was interesting, and this one's been kind of a fun conversation for the last 2 or 3 days, with the rest both for pros on a scheduled basis, and then for these kids sitting out the bowl game. So I don't know, it was an interesting one, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, for me, this is what is going to happen now. I think that's what we all need to realize. This is where things are going. I'm a part of a generation where, and I know there's people that listen to this that aren't comfortable with it, and there's people that listen to this that are. I'm kind of in the middle with how coddled my generation is. And I'm no different from that. I mean, I got my ass spanked a few times when I was little, but I never wanted for anything. My parents took phenomenal care of me and my brother and sister, and to a degree, of course, we were spoiled. We were very lucky. To this day, still am extremely lucky for the parents that I have. I'm a part of this generation, and we were a little more coddled than the people before us. And that's where the world's headed. And it's weird because I don't necessarily consider myself to be a part of that mindset, but I'm aware that that's where it's going. And 40 years from now, we're going to be living in a way different society than we do now because of the people that are being brought up now. And that's okay. But we all have to realize that, that's kind of a big picture societal thing. Sports is coming right along with it. People take mental health days. People take rest days. And, they didn't do it in 1955, I don't think, but they do it in 2016. I was born in 1990, and things are different now than they were in 95 to 2000 when I was starting to have some reason and remember things. And I can think back to those times when I was a little kid. Things are way different now, and they're going to continue to get way different. We just have to understand that sports is going to go along with it. And these rest days and these business decisions and taking care of yourself first, it might not be ideal. It's certainly not the most team forward thought. That's obvious. And if you have a problem with these kids sitting out, I get it. And if you have a problem with pros sitting out, I really get it. I don't necessarily agree with all of it. I just want to look at each one individually. So, all right, let's move on. Too much playoff NFL stuff. I could do this for a while, but there's too much playoff stuff to get to, so let's do it.
The Calhoun Show.
All right. So, there's something I got to get off my chest here. As we head into the playoffs, the playoff scenarios are all upon us here. We have a pretty good idea where these teams are all going to end up as the playoffs approach. I have a problem with the National Football League, and here's the issue I have. I'm looking at the standings here, right? Now, I'm a Giants fan. You guys know this. Love the Giants. Would love to see the Giants host a playoff game or two this year. And I look at the standings, and I see the Dallas Cowboys sitting at 12-2. Now, I haven't watched every game of every team this year, but I sure as shit have watched the New York Giants beat the Dallas Cowboys twice. So I'm wondering in the other 12 games, what the hell happened? Come on, NFL. Did somebody else beat this team? Are they that good? The Giants that lucky? I don't understand what's happening. So there's a bunch of disappointing teams in the NFL. Number one, the Washington Redskins. Oh my God. Monday was horrible for Washington. They looked terrible. They had a chance, and they completely wrecked it out. Philadelphia and Minnesota, weren't those the two teams with the best records in football at one point? Now Philly's 5-9 and Minnesota's 7-7. So, you know, whatever that'll tell you. Minnesota 2-3 in their last 5. Philly's lost 5 in a row. Just brutal. Carolina seems like a team that's going to probably win out and end up 8-8 and be a team that regrets this year because they were better than they performed. New Orleans might be a little better than I thought they were. San Francisco's awful. LA's awful. And Arizona was a huge disappointment this year. Huge disappointment. I had them in the Super Bowl, and I don't know if Palmer fell apart. I don't understand. The offensive line was certainly bad in Arizona. So now we sit back and we take stock of who's left. Okay? Now, the number one thing to look out for here is who's going to get in. So let's get that out of the way first. We can start with the AFC. Here's where things sit. Now, I'm going to go over these because people kind of have an idea as to what's happening. But I went to sit down to read this, and I was like, I don't really want to read this. And I was like, you know what? It'll take 10 seconds, and I'll probably learn a lot. And I did. And so I'm going to share these with you guys. So New England can clinch home field advantage this week with either a win or with a win and an Oakland loss. Or they could tie. I'm going to ignore the tie thing. We're just going to talk wins and losses here. If New England wins and Oakland loses, New England gets the 1 seed. Oakland can clinch the AFC West and a first-round bye with a win and a Kansas City loss. So if New England wins and Oakland wins, New England does not clinch home field. But Oakland can clinch at least their division and a bye by winning, and Kansas City, who is home against Denver, losing. Pittsburgh wins the AFC North if they beat the Ravens. So that could get wrapped up this weekend. Kansas City can clinch a playoff berth with a win or with a Baltimore loss. Houston can clinch the AFC South title with a win and a Tennessee loss, which that one I didn't realize that Houston was on the verge because I know they are tied with Tennessee, but they have the tiebreaker. And then finally in the AFC, Miami 9-5 right now. Clinches a playoff berth with a win and a Bronco loss or... those are ties. I don't need any of that. So if Miami wins and Denver loses, Miami gets in. So where does that leave us? That leaves us. The Broncos aren't making the playoffs. And I know I said it on this show months ago. That's fine. I'm over the Broncos. That style football, and I know it's the Giants style football, but it's not my team. I could do without it. So we're not going to get the Broncos. I can't believe we're in a position now where Miami's going to make the playoffs, but that appears to be where we're at. Here's the bummer, and I'll tell you, here's the big bummer. The AFC playoffs look so bad compared to the NFC playoffs. So let's go to the NFC. Dallas can clinch the NFC East and home field advantage with a win or a Giants loss. So if the Cowboys beat the Lions, they're done. Seattle can clinch a bye with a win and a Lion and Falcon loss. So that one seems at least marginally unlikely. You have to get a lot. The Giants clinch a playoff berth with a win, or a Detroit loss, or a Green Bay loss, or Tampa Bay loss, or an Atlanta loss. So the Giants are making the playoffs. Thank you, God. Detroit clinches. Oh boy, I just sealed their fate, didn't I? Detroit clinches the NFC North with a win and a Packer loss. So we all kind of expect Green Bay to at least win out up until Week 17. I think Week 17 with Packers-Lions will probably be for the title of the division. Detroit, by the way, at Dallas on Monday night, if I hadn't mentioned that. Atlanta can clinch the South with a win and a Tampa Bay loss, and then they're gonna make the playoffs. There's a shit ton of scenarios for that. And Green Bay clinches this one makes me laugh. We'll do Tampa Bay first. Tampa Bay clinches a playoff berth with a win and a Green Bay loss and a Detroit loss and a Washington loss. And Green Bay makes the playoffs with a win and a Washington loss, Tampa loss, Atlanta win. Green Bay clinches strength of victory tiebreaker over Tampa Bay. Oh, okay. There you go. So Green Bay's got the tiebreaker on the Bucs to make the wild card. But when you talk about what the playoff scenarios are and who's going to play who, so your bye week teams are going to be New England, Oakland on the AFC side and Dallas, Seattle on the NFC side. I think what we're going to end up with is Atlanta at the 3, the winner of the NFC North at the 4, the Giants at 5, and then probably Tampa Bay, depending on how they do in the next 2 weeks. Washington is still sniffing around for that 6 seed as well. On the AFC side, you have the AFC North winner, which is either Pittsburgh or Baltimore. You have Kansas City, who's going to be probably a wild card team at this point. Houston's going to win the South, it looks like. And then Miami would be your second wild card team, ahead of Baltimore if Baltimore doesn't win the division. If Baltimore wins the division, then Pittsburgh and Miami are going to be fighting for that spot. But either way, on the NFC side of things, if things shape out the way I think they're gonna, you're going to end up with Tampa Bay at Atlanta and the Giants at the Packers. Or excuse me, Detroit at Atlanta, and then the Giants at the Packers. Compare that to what Miami at Houston and Kansas City at Pittsburgh, I guess, is what we're looking forward to. I don't know. Is that good? The AFC doesn't make any sense. By the way, Tom Savage, and if you listen to the Around the NFL podcast, you did the drop in your head. Tom Savage looked good. He throws to DeAndre Hopkins. He throws the ball down the field a little bit, spreads it out. Can't let Osweiler play anymore. And by the way, I loved that the owner came out and said it took stones for Bill O'Brien to pull the quarterback out. Probably should have done it 8 weeks ago, but I'm glad it happened. And Houston's at least a little interesting now. But these playoff scenarios, the way that they play out, it kind of negates a bunch of games this weekend. You know, San Diego, Cleveland. Although that game's relevant because we kind of want Cleveland to get a win, don't we? Washington at the Bears is pretty much useless at this point. Niners, Rams, nobody's got time for that. Bengals, Texans, still moderately relevant. Bucks, Saints, relevant, but not a great game. I mean, there's good games, and a lot of them have jurisdiction. What the hell am I talking about? A lot of them have bearing over jurisdiction. That's not even close. A lot of them have bearing over what's going to happen in the playoffs. And by the way, this is super spread out this weekend. We have Thursday night football with the Giants and the Eagles, and then the majority of the games are on Saturday because Christmas is on Sunday. So you get Vikings, Packers, Titans, Jags, Jets and Pats, San Diego and Cleveland, Washington, Chicago, Atlanta, Carolina, and then Miami and Buffalo. Those are all at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And then 4 o'clock Saturday, Colts, Raiders, Niners, Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, Bucks and Saints, and then you get a night game with the Bengals and Texans on Saturday. You get 2 games on Sunday with Ravens, Steelers, and then Broncos, Chiefs, and then we get Lions, Cowboys on Monday night. So it's a phenomenal weekend of football. I don't want to disparage the schedule makers. They did fine, and these last 2 weeks are going to be great. And all the division games next week, all the division games next week are going to be phenomenal. So it's fun. And it's fun for me, especially as a Giants fan. We're in a position to make the playoffs now for the first time in 5 years. It's shocking that it's been that long, but it has. Here's the dangerous part for me as a Giants fan now. Now I'm starting to reach a point where I trust the defense to win me games. And that's only happened twice in my life. And they won Super Bowls the other 2. I'm not predicting the Giants to win a Super Bowl this year. I'm not. I love the thought. I love thinking about Giants Patriots for a third time. If it happens, it'll be the best thing ever. I can't, unless they lose, it'll be the worst. But I mean, I love the idea of the Giants making the Super Bowl. You have to be realistic. This is not a Super Bowl offense. It's not good enough. Denver's was good enough last year, though, so that's where you kind of have the hope. The Giants team, to me, this year, Ben McAdoo seems to get them ready to play, which I can't say was always the case with Coughlin. They had really, really bad days, and they're still having bad days offensively, but this team as a unit continues to show up. They're pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot, and they're playing at Philadelphia Thursday night. Philadelphia's lost 5 games in a row. They're trying to get things figured out with the rookie quarterback. They're trying to get things figured out with the first-year head coach. If you're the Giants, this is one of those games that I'm watching saying you have to show up and play. It's very rare that we see the Patriots play a game against a team that is not nearly as good as them, and the Patriots are in a game in the fourth quarter. We don't see it very often, and that's because teams that are supposed to do what they do show up and do it. The Patriots, if they're a 15-point favorite over another team, you know what the Patriots are probably going to do? They're probably going to win by 20. And that's what we're used to with the Patriots. And there's other teams that should have that. Well, every team should do that. They should beat the teams that they're supposed to. But we see, and the Giants and Steelers are the teams that pop out to me that just completely don't show up for games. And the Giants have been better about it this year. But the Steelers have still had a couple. That Philadelphia game comes to mind. And let's talk about this for a second. I want to get to this email. We got an email from Sarah who emails us stuff all the time. And she laid out a scenario which a little reminiscent of the Bengals and the Steelers if I am not reading too much into Sarah's email. We did share this on our Facebook page, so I'm gonna read some parts of this. You can see the whole thing. It's posted up there. It's actually posted in the form of a question, so we actually got a couple of responses to that too. So she's talking about. I'll get this for you. I'll read the beginning because this is really funny. So this is so timely. I found the following word problem and answer while skimming an old textbook after a Steelers game. The Union Workers just scored a touchdown against the House Cats. The score after the touchdown is Union Workers 24, House Cats 20. Now, I don't want to read too much into this. I really don't. I don't like reading into things. However, in this Union Worker House Cat scenario, I'm thinking of another 24-20 game that involved the Steelers and the Bengals. So Union Workers versus House Cats. All right, so I think I'm on the right page here. So the score after the touchdown is Union Workers 24, House Cats 20. 7:30 left in the game. As the foreman of the Union Workers, you must decide if you go for 2 points or kick for 1. 1 point puts the Union Workers up by 5. 2 puts them up by 6. The odds of making the 1 point conversion is roughly 95%. The odds of making the 2-point conversion is 45 to 55. The House Cats' next drive will have one of the following outcomes. Cats score a touchdown and get an extra point. That will give them 27 points. They score a touchdown and convert for 2. That gives them 28 points. They kick a field goal, giving them 23 points, or they score a touchdown and don't get the extra point or miss the 2-point, and they end up with 26. Which of the following is the best, safest, most reasonable option for the Union Workers foreman to be able to win or tie the game if the Union Workers kick a field goal after the Cats' scoring drive? So we're talking Bengals Steelers here, and we're talking about if Mike Tomlin did the right thing. So with 7:30 left in the game, you're up 24-20. To me, you go for 2. You try to get up by 6, just in case they score and miss their extra point or miss their 2-point conversion. The downside to that is if you go for 2 and don't get it, now you're going to be down 3, so you're still tying the game with a field goal, but assuming they score a touchdown, putting them to 27, so now you can kick a field goal and tie it at 27 and go into overtime. I personally would rather go for the 2, get it out of the way early. Maybe we get to 26 points, then a field goal can win it for us. Maybe we get to 26 points and they score a touchdown but miss on their extra point, which we've seen a lot of this year. I think you go for 2. I would go for 2. Let's look at a couple of the responses we had here. RJ says, you kick the extra point, puts you up 25-20. So even if the Cats score and get the 2, they're up 28-25. You kick a field goal and tie it up. Hopefully your kicker isn't Josh Lambo and doesn't shank the hell out of it. That's a fair point. But if you go up 25-20, and I mentioned this at the top of the show with these coaches doing just absurd things with the ball and with clock management. If you go up 25-20, the problem is, well, I don't know. I mean, it definitely is a problem. Everyone seems like they have an easy answer to this. I can honestly see both sides to it. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing I love more than going after Mike Tomlin. Because I think Mike Tomlin he's won 50 games in 5 years. That's pretty good. But either way, I think he's a little overrated. Our old buddy Dan Conde wrote in. He gave us a response here. You go for 2. No matter if they're down by 4, 5, or 6, 7:30 means that the Cats are in 4-down territory. There will be no field goal. The 3 possible outcomes for the Cats are touchdown plus 2, touchdown plus 1, or a turnover on downs. Or again, everybody needs to remember that you can miss the extra point. 6 points is an option here. Strategically, the advantage of being up 5 points versus 4 points is insignificant. On the other hand, the advantage of being up 6 versus 5 with that little time left is astronomical. You have to assume at minimum 6 points from the Cats' upcoming drive or a turnover on downs and a victory. With only a 5-point lead, you are behind even before the point after or 2-point conversion, so you must bank on getting another possession, which isn't guaranteed. That's where I'm coming from. I agree with Dan. But I loved that question. That was solid. So, I wanted to mention this. My dad texted me about this. He wanted to make sure I was aware of it. If you haven't seen this, I laugh. It's really, really fucked up. So, kind of just take it with a grain of salt that this story is a little disturbing, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway. There is video of a security officer. You know how when you go to a game or you see it on TV, they always have the people, they usually have the yellow jumpsuits on, and they're the security at the bottom of every stairwell, and they face the crowd. They don't face the game. So there's a guy at the Charger game who was standing like 10 to 15 feet away from the cheerleaders. And, you're facing the crowd, and there's thousands of people in front of you, and all of those people have cell phones, and all of those people have camera phones. And what happened next is shocking, and it's appalling, and it's wrong, but it's... So the guy was jerking off. That's what it was. His hand was in his pocket. I don't know if he cut the pocket out or because that seems uncomfortable. I hope he cut the pocket out at least. But that's what was happening. And there's video, and it's really clear. And this is what my dad sent me, and this is what's funny because I'm running into the same thing. He goes, He goes, wanted to ask you a question for the show, so I Googled sports. Top story? Wow, there's a video of a Chargers security guard jerking off on the field, standing near the cheerleaders. Not sure if there's a question in there. So here's a question. Should college players skip bowl games? So we got to that part. But yeah, I don't know if there's any point to me telling that story, but I saw it and was shocked and I laughed. I won't lie to you. I did laugh. But yeah, that was a weird one. I've never seen that before. The person who took the video kept the guy's face out of it. I wish they would have just showed the face instead of anything else that they were showing on the old video there. But yeah, it was interesting. By the way, the Basketball Hall of Fame nominees have come out. Tracy McGrady and Ben Wallace are going to headline the nominees for this class here. Other players, this just came out. Yeah, here we go. Kevin Johnson, Tim Hardaway, and Chris Webber are the three guys that they highlight here on the score as far as guys that are eligible once again. Those are the big headlines there. So let's see. What else did I want to get to before we wrapped up today? By the way, yeah, this is one thing I want to talk about. If you're a hockey fan or if you're a casual sports fan that has considered getting into hockey and hasn't given it a chance, do yourself a favor and watch a game or watch a little bit of a game here and there. Because if you look at the influx of talent coming into the NBA, I can tell you pretty handily, because there's more guys on each team. There's way more, even more in the NHL. There is so many talented young kids across the league right now. I just think of any number of teams has one or two or three of these kids. And you start at the top, with Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and Jack Eichel and all of the young kids that Edmonton has drafted. Draisaitl looks phenomenal. And I know I mentioned McDavid already. Draisaitl looks great. The Pittsburgh kids with Sheary and Rust have looked really good. Gosh to spare and all the young players in Philly. I mean, there are talented young kids in the NHL now, and they're putting up points, and they're scoring, and they're really fun to watch. And by the way, I don't know how long we're going to be treated to this, but because I don't know how long his prime will be, but if we can be lucky enough to have these two guys healthy for at least the next 5 years, McDavid versus Crosby in the points race is going to be pretty insane. It's going to be really crazy. And if you're not yet familiar with Connor McDavid, if you're a casual hockey fan that knows who Sidney Crosby is, or if you're just a sports fan that doesn't care about hockey, Crosby, Ovechkin, right? Those are the people that know. Know McDavid. Know it, because we're looking at something crazy. And by the way, Roberto Luongo ties 5th all-time for wins for a goalie, and Jaromir Jagr ties Mark Messier for 2nd in points all-time. And by the way, I think I saw this morning on Twitter, he would have the all-time leading goals past Gretzky if he had hit his goal averages for the 3 years that he was in the KHL. It's pretty nuts. The guy was playing hockey professionally before I was born, and he just scored his 1800th and something point last night. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So Christmas is this weekend. Hope you guys got your shopping done. I hit 3 malls the other day. I got a couple more things I got to get done here, but I don't know. I just always wait. I know I talked about it last week. I just wait too long. And then it's just a panic. It's a panic at the end trying to get everything done, but I think I'm in good shape. The only thing I don't have is wrapping paper. I got to try to track some of that down. So, don't forget to send in the voicemails, the Facebook post, the emails, Twitter at Calhoun Show, calhounshow@gmail.com, 860-740-2119. Get those hashtag Calhoun Show Cold Dump. Do it. Seriously, you're going to feel silly typing that out, but do it anyway. And be entered to win the prize, which we will tell you about next week when we announce the winner on the show. You're going to want in, and it's something that's going to get you up and out of the house, and it's customizable based on where you live. We're going to send you somewhere, and we'll tell you where next week. But it's cool, and you're going to be bummed if you hear the thing next week, and then find out that you didn't participate. So you should have done that. I just accidentally liked a game on NFL.com's score page. Like, I don't know, is that going to post on my Facebook now? Can't stand this stuff. Was there anything else I wanted to do? Hold on, I'm going to pause for a second, make sure I didn't miss anything. See, this is why we pause. It was like I was never gone, but I did remember a couple things that I wanted to do. So number one, I wanted to read this stat for you. Landon Collins is the first NFL safety with 100 tackles, 5 picks, and 3 sacks in a season since Rodney Harrison in 2000. Pretty nuts. And then, there was the one other thing that I definitely wanted to do on the show was to take a moment and remember Craig Sager. If somehow you're unfamiliar with Craig Sager, he was the very long time sideline reporter for the NBA, for TNT. He was known for the suits that he wore and his ability to make light of situations and with people that you normally don't see the bright side of. And he lost his battle, a long, very public battle with cancer, or leukemia, to be specific, actually. Sorry. The other day. And 2016's been shitty for a lot of reasons. And there's been a lot of people that have died. And there's been a lot of hatred. And there's been a lot of nasty things said. And a lot of nasty things done. And they're all sad. But for whatever reason, and we're lucky that we can, we're able to compartmentalize a lot of that stuff. I was at the gym last night when I saw on TV that an ambassador had been assassinated, and then I say, it's my first time. Whenever I'm at the gym, it's the first time I'm seeing the news for the day, and I'm watching the story from Germany with the truck, another truck into a crowd of people, and on an individual level, those things are all horrendous and horrible, but we're able to compartmentalize them and know that they exist, but they don't consume us, and they don't. I don't cry every time something like that happens, even though I know it's sad. The Craig Sager one hit me. It really did, because I've heard a lot of interviews that he's done over the last 6 months to a year to 2 years since this became kind of a national storyline, was following along with Craig Sager, and it's not the first time we've done it. We did it with Stuart Scott with his battle. But yeah, just hearing Craig Sager talk as many times as I have about the battle and about the fight that he's going through, and going through chemotherapy and then traveling to a game and then driving back to the hospital to get more therapy or to get more treatment. That's what this guy was doing, and he did it all. At least when we could see him, he did it all with a smile on his face. And it's just I'm as guilty as anyone else of things suck, things are tough, I'm down, I'm bummed out. And I do that all the time. I think this podcast it should be places that it isn't yet, and I'm hoping to get there, and I'm praying to get there, and that'd get me out of the job I don't like, and I think about that all the time, and it bums me out. And then you sit back and you look at what this guy went through and what this guy fought through, and the fact that he did it all with a smile on his face. It's unbelievable. And I have a really good feeling, I think it's safe to assume, that he wasn't smiling all the time. But you know what he did do? He smiled for us. And I think that's something that we should appreciate. And the ceremonies and the things that were said about him, you can tell how people felt about him. Because when people pass away, we talk about the things they accomplished. We talk about the accolades, all of the different things that they've done through whatever career path they've gone through. We know all that stuff with Craig Sager, but the people that knew him personally, Not one of them leads with that. They all lead with who he was and what a nice guy he was and how much fun he was and how much he loved to take guys out to the bar after the game and talk and drink and laugh and just seemed like the kind of guy you wanted to be around. And the fact that he fought for as long as he did and publicized it and made it known that, I'm going through this and there's other people doing it too. And again, it'll never, I don't think it'll ever leave me, the interviews that he did and the positivity, the overwhelming positivity that he had, knowing that his fate was what happened. And yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt when I saw that update on I think it was Monday, or no, it was late last week. I just completely lost what day it was for a second there, but yeah. So yeah, that's a bummer of a way to end a podcast. So all right, guys, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Please have a great time. Be safe. Grab an Uber. Have somebody else drive if you're going out. But yeah, be safe. Good luck shopping if you still have some of that left to do. I'm going to be at a store here in about an hour, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other people there too. So enjoy the holiday. Have a great time. Enjoy a couple days off if you get them. I'm off on Monday. Pretty excited about that. So everybody be great, and hashtag Calhoun Show Cold Dump. Get everything in. Saturday night's the end of the night, midnight, when the clock strikes 12 and Christmas is here. Competition's over. The contest is over, and we'll pick a winner on Sunday when my sister's with me, and we'll announce it next week on the show. So again, thank you guys so much. Love you, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to The Calhoun Show. Join the conversation by following the show on Twitter @Calhoun Show and emailing the show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe and download for free on iTunes. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail by calling 860-740-2119.